the president and with his administration this morning. How? She said publicly, vehemently she was against the policy of separating families at the border. Are her words enough? The setting for our great debate with Angela Rye and Jason Miller. Angela, is it enough?
It absolutely is not enough, Chris. To your point before we went to break, Ivanka has a formal, official role in the president's White House. She has an obligation to not only tell her father the truth, but also her boss, the man who's serving as commander-in-chief. Because you had a few sleepless nights, because it troubled your spirit and your heart, and you did not take the necessary actions to stop him in his tracks, to reverse course on policy, to tell them how damaging this is going to be, not only for, Americans everywhere, all over the world who are looked upon crazy at this point, but also for the kids who, frankly, have been traumatized by this. So I would tell Ivanka, if, you talked about she has her father's ear. Let's say that on this particular issue she doesn't. Well, she now has an obligation to solve for what's happened, and she can do that very simply, Chris. There are two entities that are raising funds, and I would tell this to the viewers as well. Flights to Reunite and Kids in Need of Defense. They can go and donate money to ensure that no other family member is deported without their children. At this point, up to 463 adults have been deported without their children, and that's a shame.
All right. Jason, the other side.
Yeah, and Chris, I got to give Ivanka credit this morning. I was at the event with her. I was sitting about 20 feet away, and it was a workforce event where she was talking about all the great things the administration's doing for the economy and for training workers for the future. In fact, Mike Allen with Axios, who is the organizer of the event, said she was the biggest draw they've ever had, even bigger than Bill Gates, bigger than Michelle Obama. So it was a really good job. And for about 29 minutes of the event, they were talking about the economy. And then the final question came around to the high point and low point, and Mike offered up the low point, and Ivanka weighed in on the immigration front. And after she talked about families being separated at the border, which along with, I believe the numbers like 88% of people in the United States, she said she wants to see families kept together, which I believe they should be kept together until if they're trying to come into the country illegally, until they're processed and then deported and sent back to the country that they're trying to come from if they don't try to come in through the proper channels. And then she gave what I thought was a very strong answer for Ivanka, a much stronger answer than I would have thought, saying that it's wrong that so many of these kids are being brought in through coyotes and traffickers.
Yeah, let's play
things like that.
Here's what Ivanka said that Jason says was a good answer. Here it is.
You're going to play the full answer? Okay.
Yeah, the part you like.
We are a country of laws. We have to be very careful about incentivizing behavior that puts children at risk of being trafficked, at risk of entering this country with coyotes, or making an incredibly dangerous journey alone.
Now, Jason, here's my problem with this soundbite. It makes no sense to me. No. You separate the kids is the problem for the kids. That's the trauma to the kids. The coyotes and all these other things, you're not incentivizing them to do that by splitting up kids on the border. They're doing it out of desperation, not because they think it's easy. See, incentivizing in a corporate context suggests you're making it sound like it's easy and good. It is hard and dangerous and deadly for them to do what they do. I've seen the bodies in the desert and in the river. They die doing this, and they're well aware of it. What is she talking about? Who's incentivizing what?
Chris, I think it's very clear what she's talking about. She's saying that we're a country of laws, that we have to have a border that we enforce, and that if we're sending a message
then it's not
that,
her low point.
Hold on, let me saying that if folks are trying to come through, trying to cross into the United States, and they're not going through an official port of entry, and they're trying to enter illegally, and we don't deport them back to the country that they're coming from, that we're sending the signal to the rest of.
But we do. But that's the thing, Jason. See, Angela, let me bounce it over to you now.
But hold on. I got to answer the point here. She's making the point that we have to go and finish that process and
Jason,
actually enforce our border laws.
Let's bounce it to Angela, because I don't see the logic in it. Angela, we do deport people who come
There is no logic in it. And let me just say this. If this is going to be called a great debate, Chris, my expectation would be that the other debater does not continue to repeat oneself, an expectation for us to finally agree. The bottom line is this. This is not right. It is inhumane. And for Ivanka to say at first this was a low point and then to defend the policy means it in fact was not a low enough point. And all I'm saying to you is simply this. You can't say that I'm against separating families and then in the other breath say, but they shouldn't be coming here to begin with and they're going to be separated until they are deported and then their parents are deported without them. What do you say to the 463 families who have been, or the 463 adults who've been deported without their children? How do you explain that? How do you justify that? How do you at all say that that is humane behavior? What is the explanation for that?
Jason?
Well, yeah, Chris, and I just respond to what Angela said a moment ago. If we are going to call this the great debate, then don't put me on with someone who's just part of the open border crew, who just wants to essentially not have any border
First of all, let's be very clear.
Let's
be very clear.
To answer the question,
I can't wait to search your genealogy and see if you have any illegal immigration in your family child. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. You've never once asked me if I'm for open borders. You've never once asked me that. And at least I have the decency not to continue to repeat myself.
Clearly, you don't want to enforce the border laws, because that's why I've said that.
No, what I don't want to enforce is your president's nonsense. That's what I don't want to. Come on, man. You guys know that this policy is ass backwards. Plain and simple. You guys know this policy is inhumane. Plain and simple. Like, if you just take yourselves out of it for just a moment, take off the lenses of bigotry for just a moment, and imagine if this was happening to
the
kids.
Name calling.
Yes, we are. I'm calling this process, this procedure is absolutely based on bigotry and fear mongering. If you don't understand that your president announced his campaign by talking about building a wall to keep your president
Angela.
keeping not mine. I will never claim a bigot ever. Now let me just finish because I know you're off on a red herring. I know you're off on a red herring because you're losing the debate. So let me just finish this point for you. He started his campaign.
People, you're rude.
Come on, dude. I'm not screaming. The only person that's rude is you because you're so afraid for me to get to the comma because the debate ends at the comma, dog. This is over. You have nothing to add except for asking me if I'm Canadian, and no, I'm not. I wish I could tell you where from Africa my ancestors came from, at least part of them, but I wouldn't know because the same bigots who are sending people back away from their children are the ones who brought my ancestors here on a ship.
Then where?
Congratulations.
I mean, if he's not your president, then who is your president?
You want to stay on that point because it has nothing to do with child separation.
We both know what Angela's point is. She says she doesn't accept
that.
Trump's politics, but obviously he's the president of the United States. Everybody knows that. And let's end this on one fact. We just heard from a senior HHS official that they told the Trump administration, if you do this, you're going to separate families and it's going to be bad for kids. And they did it anyway. That's one of the facts that sheds light on what this has been about from the beginning. Jason, Angela, thank you very much. Try to have a smile sometimes.
Thank you. God bless you. And God bless America.